Hi everyone. The most common question I see about poison is how to effectively perform her whip cancel, what are its applications on hit on block, and is it really necessary in order to learn poison? In my video here, I hope to be able to answer exactly how to do the whip cancel consistently, as well as make it clear what are its uses in terms of a meta standpoint for damage, pressure, etc. As a disclaimer, I am winging this video without a pre-written script or anything of that sort, so I apologize for any awkwardness or downtime. And I am also using a shitty PlayStation microphone, which means that I had to turn off the in-game sound in regards to the character noises just so that I can make sure I'm being heard clearly enough. So to get started, her whip cancel allows her to move forward and backwards freely, and you can cancel at any time by inputting a kick anywhere. I feel like personally the easiest way to perform this cancel is to hold kick preemptively during the animation. As you can see, I'm holding it immediately after pressing standing heavy punch, and the cancel comes out for me automatically. Now you can do this manually, of course, but there's no real reason to perform this manually. You can just hold the kick preemptively and it will come out every time for you. A lot of people seem to have trouble with this, namely depending on the type of device you use to play. So I am playing on a PS4 controller and this is relatively extremely easy in regards to how I have to move my fingers around. But for someone on pad or hitbox, it might be difficult. That being said, I don't think I've ever seen anyone take more than 2 days struggling to perform this consistently. This really should be a very easy um, cancel to perform for you. So if you are watching this video because you have been discouraged a bit, then I will say definitely give it 1 to 2 days more practice and it should come easy. It is really not a hard cancel to perform. So let's talk about using this on hit. Why is this necessary on hit? The short answer is it gives her access to her highest damage combo. We have 266, 425 as compared to 224, 419. Now the difference in numbers may not seem that grand, but in a game like Street Fighter V, where offense is the best defense, and probably vice versa, and especially on a character like Poison who has no invincible, getting as much overall damage as you can on the opponent is essential. This also applies to her V-Trigger 1 combo. As you can see, this combo gives enough spacing for a heavy avant after a V-Trigger 1 cancel, whereas normally you don't get that in combos. You need to make enough spacing so that your V-Trigger 1 Molotov leaves you, for lack of a better term, meaty enough afterwards to get your heavy avant. And of course, just look at that damage. This is nearly, if not 40% of Seth's health in one meterless combo. Of course, Seth has extremely low health, and of course this is a heavy punch starting combo, but the point still stands. You can take someone's health away extremely easily if you perform the stance cancel combo. So in regards to if this is necessary in order to main poison, I would say 100% yes. You need to learn this stance combo if you want to maximize your damage output and stay alive in games. Especially, and I emphasize this a lot, for a character with no reversals, you have to make yourself optimal everywhere else since it's not something you can rely on. Now let's talk about applications on block. On block, Poison's standing heavy punch turns to -2 from -6, as you can see. On paper, that's good. It makes your spammable standing heavy punch safe. But there's a lot more layers to that than people might give it credit for. So let's have Seth do his quickest normal. His crouching light punch is a 3-frame normal. It is very respectable, and it comes out as fast as any jab would. As you can see, I have a lot of freedom of movement before Seth does here. I can point blank hit him with a stand heavy punch, walk back, and he still isn't able to catch me. This means that even if I am -2, in regards to hit stun and block stun in the game, I am really the one with advantage here. Seth is not the one with advantage here. Well, what does this mean? It means that Poison can extend her turns with stand heavy punch and get a lot more chip and pressure than she normally is allowed to by the game's rules. Seth cannot really contest this, after all. Now, I want to mind you, before I continue on with anything else, that this string is a true block string. Not even an EXDP can cover this. So if you do this, this is a very quick way to end your turn and end your pressure. Now, this isn't bad by any means because it's still chip and it's still push block. And of course, Poison primarily being a zoner, quote unquote, even though she has ridiculous offense and damage, she really does excel first and foremost at spamming from a distance. But the point of this is that it allows her to extend her pressure in a really solid way that opponents can't necessarily deal with on reaction. They have to take a risk. Now, instead of just walking back, let's just see what happens when we whip cancel from a distance. He is hitting his jab, but if he didn't recover fast enough, I would be hitting him. So let's try using a faster normal after. As you can see, this allows Poison to make an indefinite series of whiff traps. And if you don't know what that is, it's essentially taking a move where you would be -2 or technically unsafe and hitting the opponent in their attempt to take their turn back when the game would normally dictate that it's their turn again. This means that you are stealing turns for the most part. Now, as you can see again, how is Seth supposed to react to this? Well, the answer is he really can't. He doesn't know if I'm gonna just release the whip immediately. He doesn't know if I'll delay releasing the whip and he'll get caught. He doesn't know if I'll just steal turns again like this. Now let's try his crouching medium kick. Let's say he wants to make a hard read and go after you. Well, just a little micro walk after being point blank, he can still hit me with that. But from this distance, I'm all safe. Now, this is the most common thing, if I can replicate it, that you might encounter while in training mode testing this. I say most common, but now it's not coming to me, but there's another example. The nature of Poison's whip makes it so she has a very high chance of getting clipped by the opponent's attempts to challenge you. Of course, this is the way that they balance her. But for the most part, again, you see that. The amount of time you take to delay shouldn't be that much. As you can see, I'm shortening the delay just a bit, and now Seth is dying extremely fast in just heart rates alone, right? Of course, taking a trade in this sense is always good too. You always win in terms of damage numbers in these trades. But the point is that it doesn't take a lot of delay to make a meaningful gap that the opponent might want to punish you out of. Of course, this is only considering if you want to release your stance. I mean, release your whip. If you just want to keep whip canceling, you can see now that I'm the one, especially at a range. This is most effective at a range. that I'm the one that gets to steal turns now. This is extremely character specific, let's say, because of course everyone's crouching medium kicks, jabs, um, and even some specials which may have armor or even outright DPs will interact different. But the point is that this is really hard to contest as an opponent because you don't necessarily know what Poison wants to do in these cases. You don't know if she wants to create a frame trap or if she wants to whiff punish you through space traps or whiff traps, however you may prefer to call them. So let's talk about something else the Seth player might do in this case. Maybe he'll want to jump forward, knowing that you're gonna walk back. Well, delaying the whiff still catches people jumping back. Especially it can catch them out of the air mid-time. And as you can see there, if I just decided to move back and do nothing else, I have plenty of time to anti here with crouching medium punch. Of course, this is technically, in a sense, a mind game situation, but the point is that you should feel like you're in control of the situation. You, after all, have more advantage in regards to block stun, so you're always going to be the one making the first move. The opponent is always going to be the one that has to take a risk here. And I just really want to go for a second to show how much you can rack up stun-wise and gray health-wise. I'm sorry, not stun, but just gray health. By getting even 4 standing heavy punches before ending your string in a heart rate. All of that sequence is something that I could have slightly frame trapped or slightly walked back and did this. And all of that is something that Seth has to take risks in trying to combat. Any single time he might have tried to challenge me, he would have instead lost at least 120 more health, getting counter hit by my whip cancel. So what if the Seth tries to backdash? Let's say he doesn't want any of this, right? He's tired of it, he just wants to backdash. Well, that's gonna catch him too. Now, looping standing heavy punches doesn't necessarily work, and of course, if you do standing heavy punch into heart rate with no delay, it is a true block string. But a delayed release entails that you can catch backdash, forward jump, and generally any type of button contest. This really makes it difficult for the opponent to try to contest you. And that's sort of in theme with Poison's character. You are a dominatrix, or sadist, as you can see in my top left corner with my title, that maintains control of the game. Now, let's say the opponent maybe just wants to walk back. In most circumstances, this would work. But in terms of the dummy immediately inputting walk back and then crouching, because of course it's set to guard all, so it's automatically gonna block down. But for a real human, this is likely gonna catch them walking back. That means that you really have a multi-layered mix-up going over here, and we're not even done with this yet, just to let you know, but This is a lot to go over, and of course, I'm not using a script, so this is going to be slightly longer than it needs to be, but I'm gonna try my best. Another thing to consider, if we want to have our good friend Seth jump again, is, of course, I could be holding Heavy Raid here. Nothing's ever stopping me from holding Heavy Raid in the midst of any of my cancels. So in this series of hitting stand heavy punch 4 times, all of these times could be times I could be buffering with Heavy Raid instead, and I could be releasing that jump anytime I need to be. Now let's talk about stealing turns in a more risky sense. And what I'm going to talk about here isn't necessarily real, but in combination with everything I've just showed you, it's really going to make layers in your offense that's extremely difficult to deal with. So let's have Seth just do a throw. There was no reversal icon, so I have to do it again. So Seth is set to throw. Now, for the sake of this example, I'm going to try to use 20 frames of delay as a realistic, quote-unquote, amount of delay, or amount of frames rather, it would take for someone to react if I did a whip cancel and tried to dash in. As you can see, I do a whip cancel, I dash in, and let's say they thought I was going to try to throw them. Well, now I'm beating them out with a button. Of course, if I'm any little late on that, I will be the one getting thrown, or getting challenged by his 3 frame, let's say, of course. But in terms of human reaction, that's going to be really hard to react to if you're also worrying about, is she just going to release her whip? Is she going to try to frame trap me with like 7 stand heavy punches in a row? I don't know. So definitely, this is entering the more risky territory of layered mind gameplay, but it is really strong when you can manage to throw in a whole bunch of options at once. Now, this isn't the only way to steal a turn in regards to getting back in again. You can also walk back in this way by using the walk cancel and trying to throw in that way. Now, of course, Seth is set to tech the throw, but what if he, but what if I hit a button instead? As you can see there, now he's the one losing for it. This is a really strong set of layers. It doesn't look like it in a training mode aspect perhaps, but it is really strong to be trying to steal your turns by dashing up or even just walking up and doing more. Even not, I wouldn't recommend doing this point blank, for example, necessarily, but even then, if you do this point blank, what if the opponent thought you were gonna walk back or release the whip with a gap right there? If they had hit a button and I slightly delayed this whip, they would have traded and I would have gotten a combo after it. Just to show you what that trade might look like. Yes, he's still on the 20 frames of delay, so let me turn that off. Now that's a outright combo hit. See, it's difficult because I have to time it so that I'm not doing it too fast or too slow. Well, I don't want to waste your guys' time, so I'm not gonna be stuck on this indefinitely, but I did get the trade once, as you saw, and this trade is pretty big in terms of frame data. So you can connect another stand heavy punch. There you go, like you saw. I'm messing up the combos because I am a bit nervous speaking here, but you get the idea. It is not safe for the opponent to make a read on anything you're doing here because it is so very easy that you may do anything else. Another thing that I want to talk about that you can quickly implement is, let's say you wanted to make spacing. Well, instead of dashing forward, you can maybe backdash. Now this seems really pointless, but let's say you have a pretty sizable life lead. If I just rack up some gray life right here, for example, and then I backdash, well, now I just took away a good 5 to 10% of Seth's health, and then I just made even more space. So the next time he's getting hit by me by a whip, he's taking like 7% more damage while I'm still doing my general zoning gameplay. I would say the most common principle of Street Fighter V learning is that when you have a life lead, it is really strong to stay back and let the opponent kill themselves trying to get in on you, and this is especially true for Poison, because of course she is a zoner. So being able to whip cancel and then backdash makes you gain space in which they have to try to kill themselves to get in on you again. It's sort of a free get out of jail card as long as you're not putting yourself too close to the corner, per se. Another example, of course, is doing jump back. I wouldn't necessarily do that because some characters can react to that with a forward moving special, but backdash definitely should be safe enough that you feel like you can make some space and reset back to neutral in a hard sense. Especially, let's say, if you're getting pressured on a neutral and then you finally get to land one standing heavy punch, you do a soft string, you backdash, and you've created enough space. Or you can maybe forward dash and, wow, they didn't react to that. I get to steal my turn. Or I get to steal their turn. Of course, this can become even more powerful as a tool if you layer it with tools like delay throw or delay jab. Because perhaps when I dash up here, the opponent is going to delay throw in order to be safe because they saw, perchance, that they didn't react to my dash up in time. In that case, I would maybe do a delay crouching medium punch and beat them out. I can't really show that to you though because the max delay I can set is 20 frames, but that's just to give an idea that this move, this situation specifically created by this whip cancel is really, really layered. It is not as just simple as you're -2 and that's it. You have a wide window to move and act before they can, and it enables a lot of turn stealing and a lot of stun being racked up. And all that being said, at the end of the day, you can always use medium EX heart rate and start the party up again. That is probably the biggest takeaway I would want to make from that, is that this really is a chip builder, a gray life builder, and it is a meter builder as well, just to show even. This is racking up so much meter on its own right. And of course, it chips Seth's health out so much in the process. one last thing I would want to go over is one final way someone may want to steal turn. This wasn't reversal, so let's do it again. So one that says anti-airs is his standing heavy kick. So let's say I wanted to steal a turn by jumping forward. It's not really going to happen. I would say jumping forward to steal a turn is one of the least safe things you can do in regards to this mind game. But hey, if they're not reacting fast enough and you know it, then go for it, right? But generally speaking, I feel like even the slowest of players, as long as they have a DP, they could probably react to a jump in from that scenario. Everything else, though, I think really holds and is essential to becoming a poison player if you want to do well with her. Whether you're in the ranked ladder or you want to play in a competitive sense, whether it be locals or online tournaments or whatever. This move is extremely broken in a sense that it allows you to extend your turn indefinitely where you don't deserve to extend your turn by the game's laws. And every type of answer the opponent might have for it is a risk. It is a risk that leaves them open for a combo or a counter hit release whip. Anything that you might think of, the opponent is definitely not in control of and has to think in a risky way and take risks if they want to contest you. If not, they're just going to eat chip for a while, and then when they finally get tired of it, you mix in that throw, or you mix in that walk-up throw, mix in that walk-up button, and you got yourself a character that's meant to be a zoner, but can sure as hell mix up and damage and get in ways that, you know, some rushdown design characters like Lucia can't even do well. So that's going to be all for this video. I hope it is helpful, and just as a final recap, yes, 100%, if you want to main poison, this is a fundamental thing I would say to get used to. It is a bit risky, and it is in the lines of things that aren't inherently real, but it is a insanely strong pressure tool in the right hand, and for the most part, it is something that wins games. There's so many games that are won over just this simple string, and then one slight delay or one slight walk back into a whiff trap makes a world of difference and a world of pain for the opponent. There are definitely other fundamentals to get down with poison, like anti-airing and zoning in the first place, but this is 100% something that you're going to want to learn if you want to rack up the pressure and the damage. Remember that you want to rotate all these options in a seemingly fashion between forward dashing, between walking forward, between back dashing to create space, between just releasing the whip, between staggering your buttons a bit, between using, say, stand medium kick instead next to use a faster button as a means of whiff trapping someone, and etc. And that's it. I hope this video was helpful in a meaningful way, and thank you. Take care.